I'm sure a lot of you have heard about cursed horror movies. Most of them seem to come from the 70s and 80s. Around about this time, horror films started to incorporate a lot more satanic and occult imagery. Perhaps this is why strange things started happening to the film crew while they were recording them. Either they would experience real paranormal phenomena, or people would start dying and having accidents in mysterious ways. The most famous examples of cursed movies are The Exorcist, the Poltergeist movies, Rosemarys Baby, and The Omen. There are already a million places online talking about these classic films, so I wanted to explore modern horror and see if there were any recent movies that carry a similar curse. For the purposes of this video, I count anything made since the year 2000 as modern horror. Although some of these films are now over 10 years old, I still consider them recent enough to be called modern. I'll begin with the 2014 movie Annabelle. Based on true events, it concerns a doll which becomes possessed after satanic cultists summon a malevolent entity. Director John Leonetti believed the movie itself to be cursed, with unexplainable things being experienced by the cast members during filming. At one point, during a full moon, 3 claw marks appeared in dust on a window which was too high up for anybody to reach. This was made extra creepy by the fact that the demon in the movie has 3 fingers. It was as if the beast itself had made the marks. Another odd occurrence happened the first time the actor playing the demon appeared on set in full makeup. As he passed a corridor, a light fixture fell on the head of the actor playing the janitor. This freaked the crew out because in the movie, the demon kills the janitor in that exact same corridor. The doll in the movie is based on the real-life Annabelle doll that is on display in an occult museum owned by Ed and Lorraine Warren. The real thing is actually a Raggedy Ann type of doll, and its original owners reported that it would move around when they weren't looking. Sometimes they would go out for the day, only to find it was in a different room of the house when they returned. On other occasions, they would find handwritten notes near the doll, written as if by a small child. The notes said, "Help me." The activity around the doll increased until a family member was attacked and was left with scratch marks on his body. The doll is now kept in a glass cabinet, and visitors to the museum are not permitted to touch it. Perhaps the entity inhabiting the doll was unhappy with the way it was being portrayed in the movie and decided to let its presence be known. Annabelle is a prequel spin-off for the movie The Conjuring, and this movie was also plagued by paranormal occurrences. The scriptwriters consulted Ed and Lorraine Warren on the real-life events that inspired the movie, but during their phone calls, they would experience static, strange noises, and phone calls being cut off halfway through. It was as if something didn't want this movie to be made. The crew reported a creepy feeling of being watched whenever they were on set. Vera Farmiga, who played Lorraine Warren in the movie, was terrified that an invisible force was haunting the set, so much so that she refused to take the script home with her at night. Before filming began, she had a Skype conversation with the director about her role in the film. The next morning, she noticed 3 slash marks across her computer screen, as if a clawed hand had scratched it. During filming, she awoke every single night at 3 AM, an occurrence that plays a part in the plot of the movie. On the day that the movie finished filming, Vera Farmiga returned home. The next morning, she awoke to find 3 claw-like slashes across her thigh. Whatever had been haunting her on the set had now marked her. Other strange occurrences happened during filming. The director's dog would often seem to be barking at nothing. It was as if it could see something that nobody else could. There was also a fire at the hotel where the crew were staying, resulting in the building having to be evacuated. The events in the movie were inspired by the real-life haunting of the Perron family in the 1970s. The Perron family were invited to the set of The Conjuring, and whilst they were walking around, crew members said that the family seemed to be followed by what felt like a strong gust of cold air. Upon returning home, Carolyn Perron was injured when she was pushed to the ground by this same cold force. Whatever was haunting the set of The Conjuring, it seemed to like following people home. There are a few films on this list that are modern-day remakes of classic cursed movies. The first one is the 2015 Poltergeist remake. Since the original was made in 1982, a number of mysterious events have occurred in connection with the film and its sequels. It is believed that one of the reasons for this is that the original movie used real human skeletons in some of the special effects. When the remake went into production 33 years later, they thought that the curse had finally been laid to rest. During a Reddit AMA thread, director Gil Kennan described some of the scary occurrences that happened during filming. The house used in the movie was picked because it was built near a field that had an eerie atmosphere. Whenever the film crew tried to fly camera drones over the field, their GPS system stopped working for no reason. Lights and other electrical equipment would mysteriously break as soon as they entered the house, even though they were working moments before. At one point, paranormal analyzer Brenda Rose was called in to cleanse the film set of evil energy. The director was haunted by the apparition of a woman in black that would follow him from the set back to the house he was staying in. He was renting the house to stay in while he directed the movie, but once the filming was done, he moved out and the original owner moved back in. He then received a call from the original house owner, complaining that the house was now being haunted by a female figure dressed in black. It seems that while the film set was cleansed, they forgot to cleanse the house he was staying in too. The 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose was based on the true events of Anneliese Michel's exorcism. In 1975, Anneliese Michel became ill. Although initially diagnosed with tuberculosis, her symptoms became increasingly strange. She complained of seeing visions of demonic faces staring at her out of the walls. She also seemed to be thrown violently to the ground and against walls as if by an invisible force. When conventional medicine failed to help, her terrified family called an exorcist. Over the course of 1 year, she was subjected to 67 separate exorcisms. She produced demonic voices and began to be violently thrown against windows and walls. Towards the end of the exorcisms, she began starving herself, believing that by fasting she would drive away the demons. In 1976, Anneliese died of malnutrition and dehydration. Her emaciated body was covered in cuts and bruises. When the film based on her exorcism went into production, it seems either her restless spirit or the demon that had possessed her came back to let its presence be known. Jennifer Carpenter, who played Emily Rose in the movie, was plagued by the feeling that she was being followed. The alarm clock radio in her hotel room would malfunction and wake her in the middle of the night. Even more creepy is the fact that it would always play the same song, Pearl Jam's Alive, which features the line, "I'm still alive," repeated in every chorus. The 2012 movie The Innkeepers is based on the true ghost stories of the Yankee Peddler Inn, one of New England's most haunted buildings. The only problem was, they decided to film the movie in the building itself. The production of the film was fraught with paranormal events. Doors would open and slam, and TVs would switch themselves on all by themselves. The director picked a honeymoon suite to film certain scenes because the room was big enough for a dolly shot. This was also one of the most haunted rooms in the hotel, and the crew found that lights and other equipment would burn out and break when they tried to film in this room. Every cast member was plagued by terrible, vivid nightmares every night during filming. The star of the film, Sarah Paxton, awoke every night thinking that someone was standing in her room watching her sleep. This actually played into the performances in the movie itself. The cast was so jumpy and sleep deprived that some of their reactions to certain on-screen events were of genuine fear. Here's another remake of a classic cursed movie. The 1976 movie The Omen is another film filled with demonic imagery. Many people who worked on the movie have either died in strange circumstances or have seen horrible tragedy befall their family members and loved ones. The movie was released in theatres on June 6, 1976, and the number 666 seems to pop up a lot in the tragic events that happened afterwards. For example, special effects man John Richardson was involved in a horrific car crash that killed his girlfriend and severely injured him. When he regained consciousness, the first sign he saw out of his shattered windscreen read Omen 666, Omen being a Dutch town that was 66.6 kilometers away. The Omen was remade in 2006. It was released in theatres on the 6th of the 6th, 06, and it seemed that the curse came with it. 2 days worth of filming was completely destroyed and had to be reshot after a camera malfunctioned. The camera bore the message Error 666 and none of the footage could be recovered. The actor Liv Schreiber was viciously attacked by a stunt dog. This also occurred in the original movie when the trained dog started to attack actors and had to be dragged away. The strangest occurrence surrounds Pete Postlethwaite, who played Father Brennan in the remake. Before filming was finished, Pete's brother suddenly dropped dead during a card game. In his hand, he held 3 sixes. There is a film set in Texas owned by Media World Company, and it is supposed to be haunted. For years, staff have been reporting seeing the apparition of an unknown man, as well as having camera equipment move around when nobody was looking. One person was even slapped in the face by an invisible hand. So frequent were the ghost sightings that film producer Alan Bijan kept a close record of everything that happened. In 2004, he produced a movie based on these events called The Ghost of Goodnight Lane and decided to use the actual haunted film set to record the scenes. The cast and crew complained of flickering lights throughout filming. Fixtures would also fall from the ceiling onto people without warning, as if someone was dropping them on purpose. Most frightening of all was the disembodied voice. Cast members would hear their name being called by an unknown person from a disused part of the set. When they looked for the source of the voice, nobody was there. The last remake on the list is the 2005 movie, The Amityville Horror. The movie is based on the supposedly true story of the Lutz family, who moved into a house that had previously been the scene of a mass murder. 28 days after moving in, the family fled their home, claiming that ghosts and demonic entities were terrorizing the family. On the first day of filming, the dead body of a fisherman washed up on the shore of the set. Whilst he was making the movie, the actor Ryan Reynolds would wake every morning at 3:15 AM. Reynolds was playing George Lutz, the father of the family. The real George Lutz reported that after moving into the Amityville house, he would awake every morning at 3:15 AM and feel compelled to check the boathouse because he was convinced that there was an intruder there. The fact that Reynolds woke up at the same time every night and that a body washed up near the boathouse on the film set makes these two events even more creepy. And if all this wasn't weird enough, the real George Lutz dropped dead 4 weeks before the movie was to premiere. And this movie is a 2012 film, The Possession. Once again, the movie is based on true events. It involves an object called a Dybbuk box. The real-life Dybbuk box is a wine cabinet that supposedly contains a Dybbuk, which in Jewish folklore is an angry spirit that can possess living creatures. The box was sold on eBay after the owner reported poltergeist-like phenomena, a string of bad luck, and strange dreams since he acquired it. Since then, every owner of the box has reported the smell of cat's urine invading their home, ill health befalling family members, and persistent nightmares of an old hag. The movie used a prop box made to look like the real thing, but it seems even the replica of the Dybbuk box could bring a curse of its own. The actors reported a constant eerie feeling pervading the set. It was as if they were being watched the whole time. Electricals wouldn't work properly, with lights exploding for no reason, and there was a cold breeze that would pass through the closed set from no apparent source. The weirdest event was the mysterious fire that decimated the warehouse where all the film's props were being held. Even the fake Dybbuk box was destroyed in the blaze. The owner of the real Dybbuk box heard about the fire and offered for it to be used instead of the prop. But by this point, the film crew was so freaked out by their paranormal encounters that they refused to let the box onto the set. The idea of a cursed film that affects cast members and production workers is frightening enough, but can a curse also affect the people who watch the movie? As you have seen, I've shown how the Conjuring movie and its spin-off Annabelle both seem to be cursed by a demonic entity. But what about the sequel, Conjuring II? As usual, the filming of the movie was plagued by paranormal events, objects moving, unexplainable sounds, electrical problems, A priest was even called in to bless the set and drive away any malicious entities. But it wasn't until the film was shown in theatres that the real strange events started to occur. During one screening, a man died halfway through the movie. Stranger still, whilst his body was being transported to the morgue, the corpse and the man transporting it disappeared, never to be seen again. One couple survived watching the film in the cinema, but when they returned home, they found a crucifix smudged into the glass of the bathroom mirror. After its home release, many people who bought the movie on disc or streamed it have reported poltergeist activity in their houses. As I said earlier in this video, whatever entity is haunting the Conjuring movies, it seems to enjoy following people home. So what do you think? Can a movie really be cursed? Or could it be a clever marketing ploy? Leave a comment to let me know what you think. And remember to be careful what kind of movies you watch. Until next time, goodbye.